Hello! In today's video we're going to be looking at 5 things I've learned this year in 2022. If you've seen my previous video, you'll see I talk about manifesting and how I inadvertently this year have manifested a very, I was going to say fruitful, definitely interesting year. Getting outside of your comfort zone is difficult, but it has been a good year for me because there has been a lot of growth and it was needed. So things that I've learned this year in 2022, I've learned this year that change is hard and painful, but it is so worth it. This year for me has been a year of change. I mentioned in my other video that I am in recovery from addiction, and this year has been the year of me facing my addiction finally and getting through that. That's been very challenging, and there's been a lot outside of my comfort zone that's happened, some of it very necessary to save my life, and others of it necessary to grow in sobriety. It has been a year that's taught me that although change is hard, it is really worth it. I wouldn't trade anything, anything to get back the life I had a year ago. It was not good. And that's a very mild way of putting it. I have grown a lot as a person, and hopefully I think as a friend and as a, supportive family member. I'm now there for my family. I can be reliable. They can trust me. I'm present. I'm trying to be a joyful presence. Doesn't always work out, but there is so much that's changed and it's been really challenging, but I'm also very grateful. So that's one thing I've learned this year. Change is tough. It's ridiculously hard. Change is difficult, but it is worth it. Another thing I've learned this year is that you can achieve anything if you just take it one step at a time. I talk about this a bit in my video about the importance of focusing on the little things. Basically, it's just about how you need to take small steps in order to reach your goal. So whatever your goal might be, whatever you want to change or achieve, it might seem insurmountable. Like you might be like, how on earth am I gonna get to that point from where I am now? But it's just a question of small steps. What's the saying? A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. The only way you're gonna get there is you've got to start, and you've got to take it one step at a time. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is to begin, but once you get that out of the way and you start, you get rid of all that procrastination, you just go for it, you will build some momentum and it does get easier. But there are always gonna be ups and downs. I have had some very tough days in this past year where all of the growth and all of the positive changes that I've made have seemed not worth it, or seemed too difficult to continue with, but I have managed to stay on the right track only because I've taken it one thing at a time, and particularly one day at a time. If you know anyone or you yourself are in a addiction recovery program, you will know that one day at a time is a very big thing. Keeps you in the day, or even if the day is too big, keeps you in the moment. You're just like, okay, what do I have to do in this moment? Get through that. Next moment, next moment, next moment. Just focus on now, get through the next moment, or yes, one day at a time. Don't think about how am I gonna sustain this for a year? How am I gonna keep going like this for the rest of my life? One day at a time. So I've been sober for nearly 11 months now, so I can personally attest to the power of taking things one step at a time and taking small, consistent steps. It's really the way to go. I am not just talking in terms of sobriety or recovery of any kind. Anything you want to achieve, just break it down into bite-sized chunks that you can do. You probably already do this in a lot of aspects of your life. Just apply it to something that's not working for you at the moment. You probably already know, oh, that project at work, you just got to start it. It will eventually get there. When you start a massive book, right, you're like, how on earth am I going to read this 1,000-page Ken Follett book? What is he thinking? Why am I wanting to read this? But the more you go, you'll just get on with it. So you're already doing this in areas of your life already. You just need to apply it to other things, like I want to save this much money, or I want to get a different kind of job. I would like to travel more. What do you have to do? What steps do you have to take? Small things only, please. Small things. The small things. Small steps to get to where you want to go. This has been a massive thing I've learned this year, and I'm really going to take this into the next year. Another important thing that I've learned this year is that I need to reshape my idea of community. So as I mentioned before, it has been a year of growth and a year of being out of my comfort zone, which brought lots of benefits, i.e. I have made lots of new friends. I have learned that as a grown-up, I can make new friends, I can meet new people, and people do want to make new connections as they grow up. This to me has been a bit of a revelation, because I'd always thought that no one wanted to make new friends in their 20s or friends when they're grown up. Not true at all. You just need to find the right kind of people who are open to being friends. Yes, there are going to be some people who are like, I don't have time for anyone else in my life. Okay, leave those people. Make your own family if you don't like the people you're currently around. just reshape your idea of what community is. This has been a big thing for me this year, and I think as well, I know we're going to keep coming back to this, but it has been like the defining theme of my life. But recovering from addiction, community, having a support network is so important. And I think just generally for your mental health, you need to have people that you feel comfortable reaching out to and just calling no matter what and being like, help, I'm struggling. And then having that kind of understanding, having that kind of relationship where they're just like, yeah, okay, and they can either listen to you, give you advice, they can even just like intuitively sense what you need to do. Do you need to just be allowed to rant on this call, or are you looking for feedback? Having those kinds of friendships and those kinds of relationships has really benefited me, and I think it's something that you can do as well if you struggle either with addiction or mental illness. You just need to reshape your idea of what connection looks like to you. And it's, to me, opened my mind and made me more receptive to making new friends, meeting new people, and trusting people more, and just realizing not everyone has to be like a best friend, or even I don't have to call everyone a friend, and not everyone is supposed to be in your life for a long time, but that doesn't mean that your connection wasn't valuable. When I think about all of the different like variety of people I've met in different meetings this year, so many people with such amazing stories, but that doesn't mean that I have to stay in touch with all of them, or I don't know, I think maybe this was just a me thing, but this year has really been about creating a support network for myself and not isolating myself, and reshaping my idea of community. And that's included lots of digital communication, right? Lots of Zooms, phone calls, as opposed to always meeting face to face. And it's allowed me also then to widen out my circle, so I have friends in like different countries now because we've met on Zoom. Like, this has been something I've learned this year, which is a big one. Learning how to open my mind, accept new connections, and reshape my idea of community. Big lesson this year. Moving on from like the physical connections with real people I've met and made this year, another important theme this year and a really important lesson that I've learned is that your spiritual health and your spiritual relationship with the world is vital to your experience of the world. And I've learned basically that your spiritual life defines your physical reality. What I mean by this, because that sounds very like wordy and like mystical, and I don't want it to be like that at all. What I mean by this is that you have the power to change your life if you change your mindset and change your perspective. So your spiritual life, you might be like, well, I'm not a spiritual person, or I don't believe in God, or I don't believe in like the universe, or whatever, karma, whatever you want to call it. I don't believe in any of that stuff. Fine, then just replace the word spiritual life with your mindset or your perspective. Instead of saying spiritual life defines your physical reality, interpret that as your mindset defines your physical reality. So you need to make sure that if you're going to talk about emotional health or spiritual health, that you're on good terms with yourself. I've learned that spending time alone is really key for me, not only as someone who is actually quite happy to spend time alone as an introvert. I really value my time alone, but also for my own sanity and my own physical health, I need time alone where I can reflect on things, and also where I can pray and ask questions. Now here as well, you might be like, again, I don't believe in God. Basically, you just need to talk to God about your day. Like, the end of the day, be like, hi God, that was a weird day. Where were you? And again, if you're not a spiritual person, you might be like, this sounds very strange, or I'm not doing that. But I have found it helpful for comfort, for guidance, even just talking my thoughts out and being like, this is what happened today. Yes, I do journal, so I write things down and I reflect on each day, written, but it is also helpful to speak and say, hi God, this is what happened today, and then process it that way. I hope you're receptive to this, because it has been a big thing for me this year to learn about the importance of having a good spiritual connection, being open, trying to stay connected, trying to work out what your purpose is, what you enjoy doing, asking for guidance, looking for signs that you're doing the right thing, learning to trust your intuition. These are all big things, I know, but it has been a year of that for me. And yeah, I would say also in recovery, I'm in a 12-step program, and they do stress the importance of having a higher power. I mean, it's a cornerstone of my recovery, but aside from that, in my general life, it's been really helpful to be on good spiritual terms with the world. So if this is not something that you have previously thought about, I would say maybe investigate it a little bit. Like I say, it doesn't have to be like a religious God, just your conception of God, call it what you want, the universe, bigger power, whatever it is. And if you are someone who this is resonating with and you're like, oh yes, I do pray, or I do believe in something, I would love to know how you pray, or what experiences you've had, because I've had some amazing things happen, and it's so cool to hear everyone else's experiences, because we all interpret the world in different ways, but there is this overarching theme of this like power of goodness, and it's just so cool. So yes, leave your experiences in the comments if you feel like it. I would love to hear, and I'm sure it would be a really cool discussion to open up. I think ultimately what I've learnt this year is that life is really hard, but that I am strong enough to get through anything. There have been pretty awful things happen this year, not just in my personal life, but you know, on a worldwide scale. It's really hard to reconcile that with the idea of God or a higher power that we just talked about. But I do think that the universe, the arc of the universe bends towards justice. Life is hard, but I've learned that I'm strong enough to get through it. So if you're going through a difficult time right now, a time of chaos, or you just don't know if you're doing the right thing, you're wondering if there's more that you should be doing or something you're missing out on, just know that you're stronger than you realise, and you'll be able to get through it. And you might be in the eye of the storm now where everything seems pretty bleak, but once you get through it, you will emerge with a new sense of perspective and a new appreciation for life. I know for me, I have definitely gained an appreciation for the small things, the little things in life, just small moments that I can get joy from, trying to bring joy to others, trying to be grateful above everything else, just constantly be grateful for everything I have, because I'm so lucky. We're all pretty lucky. I mean, if you're watching this, you probably have internet access, right? You've got a device you're watching me on. Those are two things to be grateful for. Life is hard, but I am strong, and I'm also so grateful for all I have. I would encourage you to also remember how strong you are, how resilient you are, and to also be grateful, not for the horrible things you're going through, but for all of the good things. This has got a bit heavy. Those are 5 things that I've learned this year. That change is hard and painful, but it's so worth it. That you can do anything, you just have to take small steps. That you need to reshape your idea of community. That your spiritual life defines your physical reality. And I have learned that life is hard, but I can handle it, and that I am strong. I hope some of these lessons resonate with you as well. Maybe you have also learnt the same things as me this year. Maybe it's been a year of change in a good way, but with that comes a lot of bad things. You know, growing pains. But I'm gonna take these lessons with me into the new year. God bless. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.